more about their literature, the Baudelaire and Shakespeare's and so on. What can you offer? What is raw? What is original? That is coming out from Africa, that is coming out from the Gambia. It's your own literature, your own culture. There is Gambian literature. Then that's the time you can be part of what Leopold Sédar Senghor called in his famous statement, that banquet of civilization, that you will have something to offer in that rendezvous of give and take. That is the message. And Gambians must know their literature.
Aliou Sedikan, a student of the University of the Gambia, expressed delight with Dr. Per Gomez's work, saying the books are rich in information and the students should make the best use of them.
To go and grab them. That's the only advice I have for them, because I have no doubt that the books are very, very rich, and they contain knowledge that is necessary for us to read as students in the University of the Gambia.
Dr. Per Gomez obtained his Bachelor's of Arts Honours degree in English and French at Cheikh Anta Diop University in Dakar in 1998. From there, he proceeded to the University of Besançon, France, for his advanced diploma in education with a distinction, and the University of Limoges in France for his master's with distinction, master's in philosophy with distinction, and PhD in comparative literature also with distinction. He wrote the first PhD thesis on Gambian written literature. Nominee of the Best Thesis Award for the Faculty of Arts and Humanities, is demonstrative of his scholarly activity, and as a result of this, the agency Université de la Francophonie, AUF, did not tarry to award him a scholarship for postdoctoral fellowship at the same University of Limoges. Dr. Per Gomez has published a number of articles on a wide variety of topics in Daily Observer as a columnist at the time. The ceremony was punctuated by drama plays performed by the students of the University of the Gambia. Buba Sise, Grts.
The fate of over 1 billion people who are physically challenged around the world was the subject of intense reflection when national authorities recently met in West Coast region as part of celebrations marking International Disaster Risk Reduction Day. Ibrahim Balde takes a closer look at the key issues jointly outlined by leaders on how those are physically challenged are vulnerable to disasters wherever and whenever they strike.
The figures are alarming, to say the least, when one looks at the number of people around the world physically challenged and living in disasters.
Unfortunately, we still have 1 billion people around the world who live with some form of disability. It represents a great percentage of the worldwide population, and we can't ignore that.
The theme for this year's event was carefully chosen. If anything, the idea is meant to drive home and amplify the message to another level.
The theme of the campaign did not exclude communities, but focuses more on disabled persons simply because they were more prone to disasters than you and I. The persons living with disabilities are the biggest untouched resource for disaster planners globally. Perhaps it is important to mention that more than 1 billion of the world population are living with disability, comparing the status of the Gambia around 30,000 populations living with disability.
These persons, by and large, still have no significant representation in the planning and decision-making process to reduce this risk or build resilience. The day is therefore reserved to share information how people and communities are reducing their risk to disasters and raise awareness about the importance of the disaster risk reduction locally and internationally.
Over the years, one institution that has been trying to live up to its mandates based on the law that empowers the agency to carry out its work effectively and efficiently.
Objectives of the National Disaster Management Act of 2008 is to provide for an integrated and coordinated management approach that would focus on prevention, preparedness, response, mitigation and recovery from disaster or emergency situations.
By focusing on front lines and those living with disability and disasters, the dominant theme for this year's International Disaster Risk Reduction Day is tilted towards a segment of society who find it increasingly difficult to stomach the challenges whenever or wherever disaster strikes. Ibrahim Balde, GRTS News.
A national capacity building workshop for parliamentarians and local elected officials on fisheries and poverty reduction recently ended in Banjul. The main aim of the two-day convergence was to train parliamentarians and local elected officials on fisheries and poverty reduction in the country to enhance their roles as educators in the field. Mamadou Jallo reports.
Parliamentarians and local elected officials for environmental protection in West African coastal countries, APEL, under the auspices of the International Union for the Conservation of Nature, organized a two-day capacity building workshop for parliamentarians and local elected officials on fisheries and poverty reduction. APEL established an agreement on technical and financial partnership with the European Union through World Wildlife Fund in collaboration with the International Union for the Conservation of Nature. It is interested in various challenges facing stakeholders and users of the West African coast. The aim of the partnership is to contribute to the sustainable conservation of natural and cultural resources of the coastal and marine zone of West Africa by improving environmental governance through the participation of parliamentarians and local elected officials. In his welcoming remarks, Honorable Neti Balde, the president of APEL, gave a brief background of the association, acknowledging their efforts in combating issues like climate change and environmental degradation. He argued that such capacity building programs are timely and commendable.
We are progressing very well, and we are hoping as a result of this meeting and this workshop, we are going to be able to identify issues of concern for us next year and to be able to work towards that and be able to inform our people and help them deal with climate change issues and issues associated to sustainable development.
The Minister of Fisheries and Water Resources, Mas Aksigai, highlighted the importance the Gambia government attaches to the fishing sector due to its importance in poverty reduction, food security and job creation.
To conclude on the interest that the Gambia government attaches to the sub-regional cooperation in terms of fisheries and management of the sea resources. And to that, the government will give high consideration and priority to the conclusions that will rise from this workshop of you, the parliamentarians.
The two-day convergence follows a series of orders held in the sub-region to build the capacity of parliamentarians as representatives of the people to reach out, advocate and lobby governments to take a more proactive role in protecting African marine resources, whilst at the same time promote the sustainable exploitation of these resources. Mamadou Jallo, GRTS.
Sales are often on as the Tobaski feast draws ever closer, and even few days after the feast. GRTS's Uminjai visited the Serekunda market, the metropolis' biggest shopping venue, to look at how sales were before and after the Tobaski.
Market, the metropolis' biggest shopping venue, resembles in all fairness a ghost settlement. This is in stark contrast to the scenes witnessed here at this ultra-busy marketplace. The Tobaski is still in full swing, but not here, a place that was a beehive of activities days ago. Post-Tobaski has seen shops and stall owners looking back on the hyper activities of the previous week. It is time to draw breath for these people after a period of daily work to meet the demand of the public. But how are sales going before the feast and few days after the Tobaski? Tobaski sales, according to Serekunda fashion stall owner Biran Sise, says was impressive. Despite the increase in sales, customers often complain of the high-cost items on sales, particularly fashionable wares. This factor has not ward off potential shoppers who are still coming in to buy items in the market few days after the Tobaski feast. This is the law of the Serekunda market, its uniqueness and ability to draw people from even a distance. For Applied Diba, a textile seller who sells materials ranging from baseng, lace and Indian dresses, says that they have sales beyond their expectation. He describes his satisfaction with the sales before the Tobaski and after the feast. Ladies with eyes for whimsical wares often walk through these fashion outlets to be in the best of state during the feast. They always yearn for a shoe collar that matches their material. Babukar Ture, a shoe seller, told the state broadcaster that sales weren't so good. Yes, everybody wants to look stunning during the feast, and that rose for the best wear, so the